Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome along to the wilds of Suffolk. I'm out here yet again doing what I do, walking along in beautiful locations such as this, and it is gorgeous today, and giving you my thoughts and opinions on everything that's happening in the world and the public consciousness. If it's your first time here, welcome. I'm really happy to have you here. For your returning subscriber, or 1,140 of you today, thank you so much for being here and returning. Wonderful to have you along. So, today's video, I'm going to be talking about the things that are happening in the world. And, things that are odd, strange to me. And hopefully that you'll agree that they're strange to you as well, because there is some very, very odd things happening in this world. Now, before we start, I want to prelim this talk. And if you're new here, if it's your first time here, when I first started this journey and me talking about the things that are happening in the world and my opinion on things, I said that as you join me for these walks and as I'm talking and doing my thing, there'll be a discussion, or there'll be a subject, or there'll be something that I say that's going to upset you. There'll be one thing, at least one thing, that is going to upset you about something I say. I guarantee it. Now, offense is a funny thing. We're all offended by things. I'm offended by offense personally, but we have to take into account that other people's opinion, and it's hard because I am an opinionated person, because that's why I do this channel, because I have an opinion about everything, and most of us do. A lot of people just don't care. They don't care about anything, so they don't have an opinion about it because they don't care. But I care. I really deeply care about the things that are happening in this world and the way that people are being affected by the things that are happening by politicians and other things like that. But I'm deeply affected by it. I don't like seeing people in pain. I don't like seeing people suffering because of someone else's ill-advised actions. So I'm going to speak out about it. When I talk about things, different subjects, it's going to upset people because I don't like hypocrisy either. Now, we're all guilty of it, some more than others, but when I see hypocrisy, then I'm going to talk about that as well. And if that's going to upset you, then, then be prepared, because there is going to be a subject that is going to upset you. I guarantee it. So that said, let's get on with today. Hopefully today's not the day. We'll see. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about it's a threat to our democracy. Now, let's start off with a bit of a definition first of what democracy is, okay? Now, for all intents and purposes, democracy is mob rule, okay? So whatever the mob believes, then that's the rule, okay? So if you think in terms of, okay, in a democracy, if you get 51% of the vote, then you win, okay? So it is mob rule, democracy, okay? Now, when you hear politicians speaking, in sentences like, it's a threat to our democracy, then you need to be asking questions, especially when you're talking about America. Now, America, they like to use, the politicians like to use the word our democracy. It's a threat to our democracy. So America's not a democracy, it's a constitutional republic, and their voting system is completely different than everywhere else in the world. Okay? Completely different for that reason, to take away the mob rule. Now, why is it important to take away mob rule? That's what we're going to be discussing, and how that works. Now, during Obama's term, I don't like Obama. I used to, until I found out who he was and what he stood for and where he came from. During Obama's term in the US, he allowed the law that propaganda wasn't allowed to be used in the... Sorry, I'm just going to park my bike up here today so I can go for a bit of a walk around this path. But Obama allowed propaganda, it was disallowed for a long time in the US, allowed propaganda to be used on the people of America, okay? Changed the rule, I can't remember what the ruling was, but change the rules to allow propaganda to be used on the American people. Now, propaganda has been used on people everywhere, daily, to do with what's happening over in there. Can I use the word Ukraine? I'm not sure, I'll probably be banned, but who cares? So, public opinion is that drives politics, but politics drives public opinion. Okay, so it's a big circle jerk. Okay, now let me explain what I mean by that. If you are bombarded with messages every day that tell you something is true, then you'll believe that that thing is true, right? So, for instance, climate change. We're bombarded with messages about climate change and carbon every single day. There's a reason I'm doing this talk today in the forest. And it is beautiful. You can see it's nice and green. Everything's, you know, springtime. It's absolutely lovely at the moment. It's gorgeous out here. Absolutely gorgeous. And that comes from the fact that we have lots of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere that keeps the tree, that's what the trees breathe in. The trees breathe that in, and they breathe out oxygen for us to breathe. So it's a wonderful, wonderful little system we've got here where the trees are giving us what we need, and we're giving them what they need. It's amazing. It's a nice little cycle that we're in. And look at it, listen to the birds. It's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So when you're bombarded with these messages each day, good morning, how are we doing? Just walk along talking to myself. Have a great day. Yeah, absolutely. Hey buddy. So we're bombarded with these messages each day telling us that whatever the message is truth. Now, if it's all coming from, if all the media sources are saying the same thing, then people believe, well, if it's coming from everywhere and everyone's saying the same thing, it must be true, right? Now, we've talked about the media before, and there's a very few companies that control the media apparatus. Very, very few. And then on top of that, we also have things like Operation Mockingbird, which is in the US, the CIA, taking part in media and controlling the media. People like Anderson Cooper and lots of people that are in the CIA. And it happens here too, MI5, MI6, they're involved in the media here. It happens all around the world. The manipulation through the media is done at a company level and at the, what do they call them? Intelligence services? Intelligence? Really? Intelligence? Really? Intelligence? I don't know how much intelligence is involved. As in thinking intelligence. Okay? Manipulating propagandist, you know, that's what it's about. Anyway, so if you can control the media apparatus and you can control the message, then you can sway public opinion in a direction you want them to go. And then you can use that sway of that public opinion in your direction to get elected and have power and have control. It's our democracy. You see how it works? It's a threat to our democracy. Have you heard those words before being said by politicians? That's a threat to our democracy. Our democracy. Our. Now, the reason I'm saying this is here in the UK, during the whole last 2 years of bullshit, we had these ridiculous, here in the UK, and around the world I know, but here in the UK, I'll have to speak from my personal experience here. Here in the UK, there was ridiculous rules imposed. People were dying in hospital alone because their families couldn't be there beside them because of the stupid rules that were in place for something that killed no one. Okay? All right? Well, very few people died, but, you know, same amount of people that die from, you know, the flu each year. Okay? So, ridiculous rules were implied on us, the general public. While the politicians here, there's a lot of scandal. They had parties at 10 Downing Street, which is the Prime Minister's residence. The party gate, they're calling it. Party gate, oh yes. Now, the Prime Minister had to pay a £50 fine for having a party with people there No social distancing, of course, and definitely no masks. Only the service staff had to wear masks, okay? The lowly scum had to wear masks. So during this whole time, they were partying like animals, doing whatever they wanted, while people were dying alone in hospital because their families couldn't be there. And they paid a £50 fine for that, okay? During this whole nonsense as well, I've been talking about inflation for years and talking about, you know, what money is and where money comes from and all that kind of stuff. Now, at the beginning of this thing, when they shut the world down and you know, all these lockdowns and all these kind of stuff, I said that the lockdowns would kill more people than this virus ever would. Right? This played out to be true, because if you stop production, you stop money moving around in the economy, then there's no money. Okay, so you have less goods, and they've printed a shed ton of money to give to people to sit on their ass at home and do nothing. So it creates a massive amount of inflation. Now, inflation hurts poor people first, okay? Because the price of goods goes up, okay? Well, the price doesn't go up. The value of the money goes down because you're putting more money into the system, okay? So as the value of the money goes down, the price of goods valued in those dollars, pounds, or whatever it is, has to go up to counteract that, okay? Now, the poor people get hit first because, well, over here, you know, I've had a 400% increase in my electricity and gas cost in my house to heat my home and to put the lights on. 400% in a year and a half. 400%. Now, I'm on a green tariff. Green tariff. So, I'm not sure. Has the price of sunlight gone up? What about wind? Has the price of wind gone up? I don't understand why my green tariff's gone up 400%. But it has. And I'm not alone. This is, most people are in the same trap. We're all trapped by the energy costs and rising costs of living. Okay? Now, in addition to that, we have this whole bullshit climate change argument where, you know, the politicians are saying we have to electrify everything. We have to go electric. Right? We have to go electric with everything. We can't produce enough electricity now with the electricity that we're using now. But they want everyone to have an electric car. Where's the electricity going to come from? Now, I've talked about in one of my talks a long time ago about the electricity generation device. It was a talk. I might even put it as a thumbnail in the corner of the video at the end there, called "The Future is Bright." Yeah, the future is very bright, or something like that. It was a while ago. Really interesting talk about electricity generation, 0-point energy, and it had in the comment section as well had the what do you call it? The patents as well for that electricity generation device and how it all worked. Okay. So if we have that, then yeah, sure, we could go electric. But what are they doing? Building more nuclear power stations. Why? What do you get from a nuclear power station? Do you have to enrich uranium to run a nuclear power station? Why don't they want Iran to have a nuclear power station? Starting to piece together for you? Okay, let's carry on. Now, the reason, one of the many reasons I'm doing this talk today is there was a British MP here. Well, there's this constant scandal after scandal. One British MP was watching porn while in Parliament. He said I was looking for tractors. I mean, I've watched some pretty weird shit in my time. You know, some really weird shit, but I've never watched tractor porn. So maybe that's something I should look up, because it must be good if you can watch it during Parliament. Okay? So then there's another British MP that was in the newspapers saying, well, people just need to use budget brands to be able to survive. So this from a politician, yeah, from a politician who they've given themselves a pay rise in the meantime to offset inflation, of course, because they don't want to be affected by it. While the rest of the population is languishing and struggling just to put food on the table. But he's saying, oh, just buy budget brands. That's how you get around it. Now, where this becomes a problem, obviously it's a problem. Massive, massive issue. that we're all having to deal with, we're all having to struggle with, while politicians just sort of, yeah, we'll be fine, we'll give ourselves another pay rise, we'll take money from the public purse. Then, in addition to that, then they send our taxpayer money, rather than supporting the British public and trying to bring energy costs down, and this is not just British, this is around the world, our government has decided to send money, our taxpayer money, to a different country to buy them weapons. Okay? Now, we're told in this country we're not allowed to have weapons because they're dangerous. Okay? The British public and Australia as well, not allowed to have weapons because they're dangerous. Okay? But yet, we're buying weapons for a different country. Oh, but Chris, they have to defend themselves from those pesky Russians that want to take over the world because that Vladimir Putin's crazy. Now, I was having a discussion with someone yesterday on Facebook who was telling me, oh, Putin's just crazy, that's why he invaded. Okay. Let's have a discussion about hypocrisy again, shall we? Where is the condemnation for all Western leaders? Why isn't Tony Blair, George Bush, whoever the Prime Minister was in Australia at the time, where is the condemnation for them and calling them crazy for when they invaded Iraq or Afghanistan? Oh, but that was okay. That was okay, I hear you say. That was okay because Osama bin Laden bombed some buildings in America from a cave in Afghanistan. Bullshit. More bullshit. See, it's bullshit piled on bullshit, piled on bullshit, piled on bullshit. Lies after lies after lies. And they keep on promoting this nonsense. It's complete fabrication. 9/11 fabrication from start to finish. Planes. Yeah. we know who the hijackers were. Most of them Saudi, apparently. We know who the hijackers were, and one especially because we found his passport. So this is how stupid this is, okay? We know who one of them was because as the plane hit the building, plane, bullshit, fireball, everyone's dead. Building collapses, death and destruction. But we found his passport in the rubble. So we know that was one of the hijackers. And people believe this shit? A paper passport made it through an explosion and a building collapsed. I mean, I'm amazed that they even found it. But no, that's how we know. Okay? And people lap it up like hungry dogs. I believe that. Yeah. Paper passport lived through the massive explosion, fire explosion, and landed on the ground. That's how we know who was in the plane, right? So all this nonsense, bullshit, propaganda, garbage, total lies, fabrications are pumped out into the world through the media apparatus, social media, through all these channels that go out into the world that tell you their version of reality. Our democracy, okay? Remember those words. It's a threat to our democracy. So what we're finding now is as we move forward with the exposure of the lies and the corruption and all these things that have happened over generations, it's not new. What we're finding is that more and more people are starting to question the reality that we've been presented with. Much like I've spoken about before as well, Plato's allegory of the cave. Okay, now if you don't know Plato's allegory of the cave, I'll give you a brief rundown of it. Imagine people that they were born in captivity and they were chained to a wall with their backs to a wall, and in front of them was another wall. Now behind the wall, behind their back, was a fire. Okay, now as people walked in front of the fire, it cast a shadow onto the wall in front of the prisoners. Okay, now those people who were prisoner saw those shadows, and that became their reality. Okay, that's their reality because that's all they've ever known, right? So imagine if somebody managed to escape that captivity and went out into the world and saw the world as it really was, and came back and reported to those people and said, hey, everybody, what you're seeing is not real. This is just a projection that these people that have got us tied up, you know, enslaved. This is just a projection that they're projecting onto the wall. It's not real. Out here is real. The people push back and go, of course it's, what are you talking about? That's ridiculous, preposterous. This is reality. So it's the same with what we experience right now. The screen that you're looking at right now is Plato's allegory of the cave. It's the cave wall. Everything we see, everything we hear, everything through media, social media, is carefully sorted through and allowed or disallowed. And this is the censorship that takes place. Why do you require censorship of information? Why is there a need for censorship of information that goes against the narrative? Why can you not question anything? Now, the issue is, it's like anything. It's like anything in the world. We can't have competing ideas, because then those competing ideas, the market would sort those competing ideas out, wouldn't it? Much like competing currencies, where we have, you know, the currency of here in the UK is pounds. In America, it's dollars. In Australia, it's dollars. In India, it's rupee. You know, everyone's got their own currency in their country. But what we find now with cryptocurrency or digital assets, it's a challenge to the authority of the money in that country. Okay, and how money moves, and the corruption of money, and how money is created. We've been through that many times. We don't need to talk about it anymore. The creation of money, private company creates it. So when you have a competing idea, a competing thought, or a competing currency, then that should be allowed. And then the people, remember that the politicians are supposed to be representing, that they don't, because they don't give a fuck about you. If you haven't learned that yet, you've got your eyes closed with your head stuck up your ass. They do not give a fuck about you or anyone other than themselves. Okay? That's it. Everything they do is to get votes, to stay in power. It's money and power. Because when you're a politician, a public servant, how can a public servant, look at these politicians, okay? They're public servants. Public servants that are multi-millionaires. You know, Nancy Pelosi's worth like 300 million. Dianne Feinstein's worth like $1 billion. You know, how can a public servant be worth $1 billion? Or $300 million for that matter? You know, and then when they leave office, like if you've managed to get to the highest office in the land, like Tony Blair, he gets paid £500,000 for a speaking event. I wouldn't pay that guy two pence. He's a clown. George Bush, George Bush, thick as pig shit. He gets paid for speaking events. Okay, let's take a little sidebar here. Now, sidebar, lawyer talk. So, what's happening now in the world? If you see, Hunter Biden is now an artist who's selling his art for $250,000 a piece. Okay, Hunter Biden. Crackhead, by the way. He's an artist now. NFTs, the NFT craze, if you haven't heard of NFTs, in non-fungible tokens, this whole NFT craze is taken off, and people are paying 10 million for an NFT. Okay? So you've got Hunter Biden selling artwork for 250 grand. NFTs are worth tens of millions, which is basically a JPEG picture. Okay? Book deals. You know, people being paid like Michael Obama. Remember his book? Becoming Michelle Obama. Okay, Michael Robinson. Book deals, artwork, NFTs, speaking events, speaking engagements. It's all money laundering. So that basically, if you want to pay somebody for their influence or power or whatever it is that you're paying them for, you know, like Hunter Biden in Ukraine, getting paid when his father was vice president to Obama, okay, and in China when Biden was vice president to Obama, okay. Nancy Pelosi, been in politics for decades, Her son Paul Pelosi doing deals in Ukraine is on the board of a Ukrainian oil company, strangely. It's all about bribery, corruption. It's all about money changing hands for these corrupt politicians who don't care about the people that they're supposed to represent. Okay? So when we hear these people, these corrupt scumbags, talk about it's a threat to our democracy, what it is, it's a threat to their system that they've created to keep them in money and power and corruption, obviously, because they don't want the people to know about it. So what I'd like you to do, as we move through this period of exposure, keep an open mind. Keep an open mind about what you see. And think about it in terms of who benefits from this information, okay? Because as we move through this, and more things are going to be revealed about corrupt players. Oh, while we're talking about corruption, there's a guy called Dinesh D'Souza, who's in the US, who's just released a documentary called 2,000 Mules. Talks about people that were casting ballots when they shouldn't have. Have a look at it, okay? For all those that didn't believe that there was any corruption, any fraud involved in the electoral process, have a look at that movie and then decide what you think after that. Have a look at the evidence, which there is a lot of. And, you know, I've heard for so long, there's no evidence, Chris, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. Here's the evidence. Have a look at it. But what I'm saying is, as we move through this period, there's going to be a lot of shit that comes to the surface. There's a lot of stuff bubbling to the surface now, but there's going to be a lot more. And when you hear about book deals, NFTs selling for 10 million, artwork by people who aren't artists selling for lots of money, all these things, book deals. Jill, the esteemed Dr. Jill Biden. Obviously, everybody wants to read her autobiography because she wrote it herself, obviously. Bullshit, sorry. So I got a bit of a cough there. Must have the Rona. It's making a comeback. Woo, I'm so scared. So luckily, I lived through the first round. Maybe the next one's going to get me. Right, Bill? Bill Gates, yeah. That guy who can't keep viruses off the computer, but he wants to keep the viruses out of the world. Thanks, Bill. Nice. So as we move through this period where all these scumbags are going to all this stuff is going to start to bubble to the surface, and these scumbags are going to be exposed, and they're going to come out with things like, but that's a threat to our democracy to question anything we say. I want you to bear in mind what that means. What does it really mean, a threat to our democracy? Mob rule. And if we can influence the public to believe something that we're telling them is true, then it becomes truth. Not that it is, but it becomes truth through public opinion, through the swaying of public opinion, through the media apparatus and social media. So, for those people that think I'm full of shit, cool, that's fine. For those people who want to look at the world events and believe everything you're told, then carry on doing that and see where you end up. You know, if you're not making plans to do something to step out of the system now, then, you know, you're going to be reliant on a politician that doesn't care. And that's up to you. I'm just telling you what I see. You've got to make decisions about what you want to do with your own life. Now, I do this channel. I'm not about making money. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm not trying to make money from this. The channel isn't monetized. I'm not asking for donations. I want nothing from you. I appreciate that people, the most precious commodity we have in this world right now is our time. And I appreciate the fact that you're willing to spend time with me. I mean, it is beautiful walking on these locations, but I appreciate the fact that people are willing to walk along with me and spend their time, which is the most precious commodity we have. Money is nothing. And I don't want it from you. I want nothing. I'm not trying to sell you anything. No t-shirts, nothing like that. I'm just walking and talking. So, do with this information as you will. I don't mind. Share it, listen to it, laugh at it. I don't mind. It's, you know, I'm doing this because I want to do it because I'm passionate and I want to share this idea and this story and this message to people to say, be discerning with the information that you take in. Take everything you hear, even from me, with a pinch of salt. I don't expect you to believe a word that I say. All I'm doing is just speaking my opinion, and you've got to do with it as you will. So I leave it to you. Now, go out into the world and do good, be good to the best of your ability. You're never going to be perfect. By God, I know I'm not. I've got more wrong in my life than I've got right. I promise you that. I have. I'm no angel. I'm a nice guy. I really am. I'm a nice person. But don't cross me. Because if you cross me, it is the worst possible thing you can do. I don't respond well to people who go out of their way to try and hurt me or my family. So I try and do the best that I can in the world and share messages and try and lift people up. But if people want to tear me down deliberately, then good luck is all I can say. That's directed at politicians as well. I won't respond very well. So, all that said, the world is a wonderful place. This reality, if that's what you want to call it, is a wonderful place. And get out and experience it. Because the more you lock yourself away from it and lock yourself away from other people, the worse that everything's going to be. We need to interact, we need to correspond, we need to talk with each other and share ideas. Because when we do that, we can come to a better understanding with all the ideas joined together, rather than this hodgepodge of bullshit that we're constantly fed by people that don't care about us. So, thank you all, one and all, for joining me. I really appreciate your time and you spending time with me. So thank you once again. Come back and join me soon. I've got some other content coming up soon that I think you're going to like. We get a history lesson about your birth certificate. That's going to be coming up in about 2 weeks, just under, I think. So join me for that. I've got some other stuff coming up where I'm going to be talking about Atlantis and Tartaria. So I'm just finishing up with those ones. I've still got a bit to go, but Atlantis and Tartaria are coming up. Really, really interesting conversations. So thanks very much. Get out into the world, enjoy it, and look after yourself, look after each other. Love you very much. Thank you very much for being here. I'll see you soon. Ciao for now.